know a couple people with disabilities. There's this one girl in my school, she's half blind. And her family is actually all half blind except for the brother.
My cousin actually is disabled and paraplegic. He got in a drunk driving accident. His neck down is broken, so he can't really function properly.
My mom can't work and my aunt can't work either. And my mom also, I have to watch her a lot because she has strokes. So I guess that could be considered a disability. My aunt, a lot of the time, she has to be in one of those motorized chairs because she can't handle walking. And then my mom, I have to watch her because sometimes she has seizures and you can't move her body because her entire body is tensed up.
My boyfriend's brother, he's dyslexic.
My little cousin Kamar, he has autism.
My brother has autism. Autism's really broad, so it depends. You could have someone who's very fast-paced learning but has autism, or someone that can't communicate with other people. He's very into sports and stuff. Like, he can communicate well with other people. He likes meeting new people. A lot of people like him because he's very friendly.
My little brother, he has, it's like a form of autism, and he has ADD. He's high functioning.
My cousin, he has Tourette's. I was actually at a movie with him, and his Tourette's started acting up and we had to leave and everything. His body jerks in random moments, and it can be scary at sometimes because it looks like he's having a seizure, but he's not really. It's just how he is.
You may have passed someone in a wheelchair on your latest shopping trip, or noticed someone in your school who is in the special classes at school.
What is your response when you come into contact with people like this who aren't as much like you?
Do you smile and say hello, or do you ignore them?
There are many types of disabilities that people may have, but this is not what defines them.
We are all first and foremost defined as sons and daughters of God, each with unique gifts and talents to contribute to the world.
What can we learn from people who have physical and mental disabilities?
How can we treat them with the respect that they deserve as sons and daughters of God?
And what might they have in common with us that we might not even realize?
Looking past one's disability and seeing the heart of a person. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Kenny.
And I'm Vanessa. And this is RealfaithTV.
The teens on the street we spoke to all knew someone who had a disability.
We'll talk to them a little later in the show, as well as meet our spotlight guest Sarah, whose brother Dylan suffers from cerebral palsy.
But first, let's meet our studio guests and find out if they have ever had the opportunity to interact with someone who has some type of disability.
Okay, they are Justin, Carly, Justin, Sierra, Alina, Laura, and Jamie.
What about you guys? Do you know anyone with a disability?
Actually, last year in the religious education class I helped to teach, there was a young girl and she had autism, and she was really sweet, and it was really nice that I got to know her.
There's a guy in my grade that I pretty much went to school with since kindergarten. He has autism. He was really quiet and to himself, but senior year we kind of got him to break out of his shell, and I don't know, we honored him at our graduation and our prom and stuff. I don't know, he's just a really cool guy and he's funny.
I have a cousin who has Down syndrome. He's around 17 or 18, but he has a lot of childlike qualities, but he's always happy. I've never seen him upset. Whenever my family comes to visit him, he's so excited. He gives us hugs. And he goes to a special school, and he loves it. He always wears his backpack at home, even during summer, because he just always wants to go back. And it's just great to see him enjoying life.
Well, in school, I actually worked with a couple of special ed kids, and they were so sweet. They just loved being in our company, because they don't get to interact with us all the time. No, it's fun to interact with them.
One of my close friends, he has diabetes, and he always has to watch what he eats, and he always has to check his blood sugar and stuff, so I mean, it's a hard lifestyle.
The other day, I saw a girl, and her mom had to help her get in the car. She couldn't walk, and it just makes me feel bad that I can walk and she can't.
Our spotlight guest Sarah is very well informed about this topic. Her brother Dylan has cerebral palsy.
Next, she will tell us a little bit about Dylan and what his life is like living with cerebral palsy.
Dylan is the oldest of the triplets. He is one of 5 children, and he is turning 16 years old in July. He had a brain bleed a day after he was born, and that caused him to have cerebral palsy. He can't walk, he can't talk, he has very poor vision, but he can hear very well. He can hear me from the other room if I'm whispering. Even though Dylan can't really speak, he uses different tones in his voice to tell us what to do. If he's sad, you can definitely tell it in his voice, and when he wants you to change a channel, maybe he'll get a little louder for you to change a channel. Also, he laughs just like any other kid laughs. That's when you know he's happy. Dylan is treated very well in our family environment. We spoil him rotten. Whatever he wants, he basically gets, especially with TV shows. He likes watching TV shows and cartoons, and if there's something on he doesn't like, he'll just whine, and we're like, okay, we'll change it. The #1 struggle that he faces is that he can't do other things that normal teenagers can do. He can't go out and play and you throw a football around. He's just in his wheelchair. He may not look like you and me. He just loves his family and his friends. He laughs like any other teenager would at a joke or something funny. He loves going to school. He loves being with his friends and his teachers. The thing that I enjoy most doing with Dylan is singing to him. He only likes songs about him. It has to have his name in it. I love his laugh and his smile. I love how happy he gets when he's around us. Taking walks with him. I'll just wheel his wheelchair out and around the neighborhood with the family out on vacation. He enjoys that a lot. He's very brave when it comes to hard situations, especially all the surgeries that he's been through. It's such a struggle for him and us, but we've learned to work it through.
I feel like it must be really hard to live with someone with a disability, but the way she made it seem like in her family environment, how understanding they are and how happy it must seem in home really makes me, it's uplifting actually.
Yeah, I really like how she said that, she sings to Dylan. I think that's really special.
Yeah. There are different types of disabilities that children, teens, and adults struggle with.
Learning disabilities are when a person struggles to acquire knowledge and skills that are the norm for his or her age.
According to kidshealth.org, about 4 million kids and teens have a learning disability.
These students sometimes need extra help or tutoring in class.
There are also mental disabilities, which refer to a mental and/or emotional condition, such as mental retardation, brain damage, anxiety disorders, and schizophrenia.
Finally, physical disabilities affect the function of a person's body and include things like cerebral palsy and spina bifida.
Many times, people with these different types of disabilities stand out in some way.
Some are less obvious than others.
Many times, when the disability is more visible, the person with the disability may be treated differently.
Sometimes they are discriminated against or disrespected in some way.
Next, the teens on the street tell us about whether the people they know with disabilities have been disrespected or treated differently.
Let's hear what they had to say.
No, actually they were on Extreme Makeover. Their house got renovated and everyone in the community helped out with it.
Not really. He's got as many friends as anybody else would have.
She's still kind of young, so nobody really is judging her. I think she's 12. But she's cute and everybody still treats her like, she's regular. He does get a lot of discrimination, but he's really happy. He has a wife.
Sometimes if people don't really know him, he's a really gentle person, but he's big. He's a big kid and I don't know, he looks like something's a little off with him, but he's actually really smart and he's just a really kind person.
Yeah, my little cousin Kamar likes to say hi to everyone and people will stare at him and then look at him like he's weird or something because he says hi. But I tell him don't pay him no mind, to just rude people.
I feel yeah, because my cousin, the only jobs he was qualified for were putting buttons in little bags. And I know his abilities are way more than that. He's a normal person. I feel like he should be treated as that because if they took the chance to train him, he would be able to pick up on it very easily.
Yeah, I mean, they are treated differently, but it depends what kind of environment you are in. They do try to I know some people are sympathetic. They will try to make them feel normal, but it's always there. You can't really kind of ignore it.
Anyone that has a disability, I've seen them be disrespected by people that are just ignorant and don't know about it. But there's also a lot of people out there that treat them fairly just like anyone else. So it just depends on the person.
The U.S. bishops wrote a document called Pastoral Statement of U.S. Catholic Bishops on Persons with Disabilities.
They emphasized the dignity of all persons and proposed a challenge to us. This is what they wrote.
We call upon people of goodwill to re-examine their attitudes towards their brothers and sisters with disabilities and promote their well-being.
Acting with the sense of justice and the compassion that the Lord so clearly desires.
Next, Sarah, our spotlight guest, will tell us if she thinks most people with disabilities are treated with dignity and compassion.
She will also share how her brother Dylan is treated when he is out in public.
Most people with disabilities are disrespected by their appearance and maybe the way they act, but really on the inside they're just the same as you and me. They have the same feelings and the same emotions. I think the main reason why people act this way with people with disabilities is that they're not used to having someone with that disability in their family, as I am. If people took the time to get to know that person, they would understand them better. I live with Dylan my whole life, and I'm used to it, but some people aren't used to it, so, you know, they might go up and just like, oh, can I get you anything, just over and over again, but really they just want to be treated like any other person. The misconception is their appearance and the way they act. People just assume that they don't hear what they're saying. Like, they can talk about them right in front of them, their feelings don't get hurt, but they hear what you're saying and they understand it. Dylan's been blessed not to experience that. He's treated very well out in public. Sometimes people will stare and, you know, go over to him and ask questions because, you know, sometimes they haven't seen anyone like that before. But he's treated very nicely, especially in restaurants. We'll be sitting down at a table and the waitress will come over and she'll be like, oh, hi, how are you? The biggest step for me looking past someone with disability is just seeing the heart of that person and really finding their personality and just getting to know them better, getting to know them, who they are, and how much they love you and all the people around them. Most people with disabilities, they just love everyone, and I think that's really great.
What have you witnessed? Are the people you know who have disabilities treated with respect?
I see in my school that a lot of people that have disabilities are treated very nicely. For me, people that have autism, there's two of them that message me on Facebook and they talk to me, and so I always try to give them the time to talk to them and ask them how their day is going, and they ask me, and they're so loving and they're so caring and they're so thoughtful, and it's really inspiring.
There's a famous researcher, and his name's Stephen Hawking, and he is a quadriplegic, and he actually is the head of his department at Cambridge, which is very prestigious, and he's considered the top in his field.
One time, I remember I was at church. There was a man with Tourette's, like, in the back. People would just kind of laugh, like, if he would say something and, you know, not really give him that much respect.
Yeah, like, I know I go to a Catholic high school, so, I don't know, I feel like depending on where you go is, like, how people are treated. Like, so at my school, like, say, for example, the guy I know, like, my whole life, like, everyone loves him. There's no making fun of him. Everyone, like, comes together and, like, supports him and what he does.
Yeah, I've seen two guys in my church with Down syndrome, and I feel they're very admired because they're always the first ones to church. They make sure that they're in the front. When the priest is saying the homily, they're always paying attention. When the songs come on, they're singing the loudest, so they really uplift everyone else.
We are all human beings with the same feelings and desires.
We all want to be accepted by our peers and treated with respect.
So why do we, so many times, treat those who have a disability with disrespect?
And how can we begin to better understand that, although each person is unique and different in their own way,
we have more in common with each other than we have differences?
Next, the teens on the street share with us their advice on how to treat people who have disabilities with respect.
Let's check it out.
You just need to get to know someone, and communication is, like, important. You shouldn't judge them regardless of what disability they have.
Someone could be just like you, but they just have something that holds them back. Like, my cousin was perfectly normal. He could walk, he could function just like everyone else. But when he got in his car accident, he was really just, he couldn't recover like normally.
They're a person, they have feelings. They have to eat like you do, they have to go to the bathroom like you do. They do everything that you do. The only difference is that they might have a little trouble doing other things, and I think people should be able to look past that.
Look past what you see on the outside and actually get to know somebody before you make any judgments.
See what's on the inside.
Well, don't judge someone just because they're not just like you. They can't control the disability they have, and if you look past it all, they're really just like any other person.
As long as the person has enough patience, then it just comes easily. I mean, they're people too.
You don't want other people to make fun of you or to make you treat different.
We're all people. Just because they have a disability and they act a little different doesn't mean that, like, they're different than everybody else. Like, they act different, but they're not, like, totally different people.
They all have feelings just like a regular person does. They go through the same things a normal person does.
In a lot of ways, they're just like anybody else. In other ways, they're different. Just like how the way they react to certain situations and, I don't know, just how they are as a person. But mostly they have feelings like everybody else. You know, if they see people staring at them, talking about them or something, they're going to feel bad about it.
It's what's on the inside that matters. So you have to look past the physical disability.
Yeah, I feel like showing someone, like, treating them with respect is, like, just going to be friends with them. Like, they're just like us. Like, they want to, like, go out and have a good time. Like, they want to have friends they can call and stuff. Like, it's just a matter of, like, reaching out to them and making that connection.
I agree with the teen on the street when she said that patience comes in handy with dealing with someone with a disability, because you just need to take the time to really get to know the person that they really are, not because they have a disability, just because they're a regular person.
Sometimes you won't even know because it's not a disability that's visible, and you meet the person for what they are and who they are, and then later you might find out that they have something they have to deal with sometimes, but it doesn't make them any less of a person.
I feel like I can kind of look past their disabilities, because one time I was at a dance and I was with my friends, and then all of a sudden this kid who had autism went up to me and he started dancing with me, and he had a lot of courage just to go up to me, go up to any girl, and all my friends are like looking at him like, what is he doing? Then the next day I saw him in the hallway and he said hi to me, and I waved back, and my friend was looking at me and he's like, why are you waving to him? That's strange that he went up to you and that he's always saying hi to you and stuff. And I said, no, it actually makes me happy.
Next, Sarah tells us how we can be more respectful too, and include those with disabilities into our activities in our lives.
Treat them with respect and treat them just like you and me. Just treat them like you would to a friend or a neighbor or a family member. Listen to them and make eye contact. No, don't just look down and think that they're not gonna notice. We can plan maybe a movie night and invite that person and some friends, or a study group, or maybe in the summer beach day, like going down the beach and just hanging out and having fun. That's one of the ways we can include. Dylan's faith has helped him a lot with his disability, and once we start praying, he'll stop whatever he's doing and just listen to the prayer. It's just him and God, and it's amazing to watch. Dylan's faith and how he kept strong no matter what has helped me to really see the heart of a person and to be more confident. I used to be unsure of what to do with people with disabilities until I really got to understand how Dylan feels, and now I'm perfectly fine talking to them and finding out what their emotions are and how they feel. Dylan has changed my life because he's taught me that you should treat everyone equally and you should love them and be brave in the hard times. He's taught me to love everyone just as Jesus has loved everyone. He's such a blessing in my life because he's shown me to be strong no matter how hard life gets, that you can always see the good in someone and you can always work through any situation as long as you have God and your loved ones around you.
It's really beautiful to hear what a great impact Dylan has had on Sarah. She has learned so much from him.
What are some of the things that you have learned from your friends and loved ones who have had disabilities?
I've learned to take life one day at a time, really enjoying what God's given me, and to not take my health for granted. And before a meal, I might not do the sign of the cross, or if I do, I'll do it on the down low, like secretly. And just seeing those two guys at church really professing their faith with no shame has taught me that I shouldn't be afraid to show my faith to other people.
My dad and my younger sister have celiac disease, so they can't eat everything that I can, and it makes me feel really grateful because I'm healthy and I'm fine, and it makes me feel good because when we go out to eat, people make sure that there's something that they can eat so they're not excluded with anything.
In my gym class when we run, I can't actually participate with the rest of the class because my asthma and a problem I have with my knees limits me so much. So a lot of people in my school might make a comment or ask, why aren't you running? And I explain it to them and then they act like it's nothing, but it's kind of hard to be excluded from the group because it's something you can't control.
My 7th grade year, there was this bus driver. He couldn't talk. He had this talking machine, and one day he got so mad at us because we were being rude and disrespectful, so he pulled over and he just started yelling at us. And we were just laughing at him still and going on about our business. Now that I think about it, I look back and I'm like, wow, that was so rude and disrespectful, and it just teaches us to respect everybody.
I actually heard a really inspirational story the other day. It was about the Special Olympics. These contestants were about to partake in the 100-meter dash. Just as they began running, one of the contestants tripped and fell and couldn't continue on with the race. They all stopped and went back to help that one guy that fell. They continued the race arm in arm to the finish line, and that is just so inspirational to me because if I were running, I probably would have just kept going and, my selfish desires to win, but, they all stopped and went back to help that one guy, and I thought that was just beautiful.
We follow the example of Christ when we affirm the dignity and value of all persons.
In Matthew chapter 11, Christ talks about how many people with these struggles were healed. He said,
"Go back and report to John what you hear and see. The blind recover their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed.
The deaf hear, the dead men are raised to life, and the poor have the gospel preached to them."
Some may carry the cross of a disability for their whole lives. They may never experience healing.
However, our part can be both to see Christ in each person
and also be Christ to each person by how we love them and treat them.
Next, the teens on the street share with us what their faith teaches them about treating all persons with respect,
regardless of their abilities or lack of abilities.
Let's check it out.
My faith teaches me to love anyone, regardless of any situation.
My faith teaches me that treat everybody like how we want to be treated.
Treat them like you would treat anybody else, you know? It doesn't make them any different just because they look different.
When I used to go to Hebrew school and everything, like they would always say, you know, care about others as you wish to be cared for.
Faith teaches you to have like more of a better outlook about it and know how to approach it and just be able to accept it. If you're able to accept it, then you could definitely like get along with them.
And I feel like if you put all of your faith and your love in God, you can just be guided towards the right way of being.
You could pray for them to get better, and like, I mean, I pray for my mom and my aunt all the time, and I just like, sometimes it just makes you feel better. It lets you get some steam out sometimes, and like, it makes you feel like somebody's listening.
It isn't always easy to do this, to see with the eyes of Christ.
To look beyond someone's physical or mental impairment.
To see that each person is a child of God and deserves to be loved in the best way possible.
Next, Sarah tells us how her faith has helped her to see and to understand that Dylan and others with disabilities are just like you and me, and equally important to the world.
My Catholic faith has helped me a lot. Praying to God and understanding Dylan took me a while. When I was little, I didn't really understand it. But now that I'm older, I understand that he's just like you and me. We are all made equal, and we are all equally important to the world and everyone around us. Just because someone might have this disability doesn't mean that they're not important and that they are not God's children. Prayer has helped both me and my family with Dylan and his journey, especially with the surgeries he's been through. Last year, he went through surgery on his hips, and that was really hard for me because he's so fragile and so small that he was helpless. He couldn't really do anything. He just sat there in the hospital bed. So he prayed that everything would be fine and that the surgery would go good, and it did. And I'm very grateful for that. Dylan has taught me many things about myself, to be strong in the worst situations, to love all those around me, to treat everyone with respect, because Dylan definitely treats me with respect. Like, I'll just talk to him and he'll just listen to me. So he's taught me to be strong and to rely on God for everything, because God will always pull through, he'll always help you.
Yeah, like she said, we all just need to treat each other with respect. We need to look past, like, the disabilities. We shouldn't judge each other.
God is the only judge, so who are we to judge everyone else? We're all human, we all have different qualities, we all have imperfections. So why judge each other? We should all just love one another.
Treat others how you want to be treated, because like if I was disabled or something, I wouldn't want people to like look at me funny. I want to be treated like everyone else, so I try to do that too.
There's this story. It's about Jesus healing a blind man. So he goes up to him and makes clay out of his saliva and dirt and smears it onto his eyes and tells him to go wash. And then he's healed. And the people are a little confused because they thought that he had his disability because his sins or possibly his parents' sins. And they realized that you don't get a disability because you've done something wrong. It's just something you happen to be afflicted with.
Just like the lepers in the time of Jesus, everybody judged them, they shunned them, but Jesus wasn't like that. He went and spent time with them and actually physically healed them. So although we can't physically heal people today of their disabilities, we can take the time out and spend time with them and spiritually heal them.
We can make a great impact in our school, parish, and community
if we make a real effort to include and get to know those with disabilities.
The U.S. Bishop's document on disabilities also encourages this kind of inclusion. It states,
just as the Church must do all in its power to help ensure people with disabilities a secure place in the human community,
so it must reach out to welcome gratefully those who seek to participate in the church community.
This applies to us today.
To include others, even those different from us, in our friends and social activities.
To seek out what we have in common.
And to imitate Christ in all our interactions.
And to see beyond the outer surface of a person and truly see the heart that lies beneath.
Do you have a story to share with us about how you were able to see past someone's disability and treat them equally with love?
We'd love to hear from you.
Contact us at RealfaithTV.com.
Or share your thoughts with us on Twitter.
And we'll leave you today with this prayer.
Jesus, let me see the dignity and value of each person I come into contact with.
Because we are all made in your image and likeness.
Use me as an instrument in my community to reach out to those who are different from me.
Especially those who are ostracized for any disability they may have.
Show us how much we have in common as your sons and daughters.
Help me be aware of the needs of those around me and serve them in a way that models virtue, kindness, and love.
We ask all this through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV.
God bless.